Candidates and others in attendance, and welcome to Chris, who's sitting in here with me at Christchurch. I'm not aware of any apologies being forwarded for this meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, we do have. We have Francois Tumahai, Paul Madgewick, and Councillor Casson.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, they've just come in this morning.
Yes, apologies. Okay, thank you.
And happy to so move.
Okay, so you're moving that, and who's seconding the appointment?
I'm happy to second those.
Thank you. Okay. Declarations of interest. The interest register has been circulated. I have notified any week a number of changes for myself, which I should just explain. At the end of January, I have resigned from as chair of two construction companies. I was on the board for 6 years, and also at the end of January, I resigned as chair of a joint venture between Auckland Council and Waste Management, where I was chair for 10 years, and I just decided it was time for someone else to have a go. So those changes have been notified to Penny, and they will appear on the declarations of interest. Is there any further discussion required on that?
Steve, just noting that one change on mine, removal of one committee and addition of the St John Area Committee.
Yep.
Who was speaking?
There's Councillor Burden.
Sorry, Riley.
Thank you. Moving on then. Items not on the agenda, and I'm not aware of any.
Steve, sorry, it's Barb here. We're getting a little bit of a wavy sound. I think it's quite hard for folk to hear. I'm not sure if your microphone is in your computer or if it's on the table. I'm sorry, it's just a little bit distorted once it gets to us.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thanks, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, you're going to get a terrible close-up of me.
All right, we can hear you loud and clear.
It's much better. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. Thank you. Right, moving on to item 4, the minutes of the previous meeting were circulated. Brief as the meeting was. I'm happy to accept those minutes as a true and accurate record of the meeting.
Yeah, happy to move.
Okay, and who seconds?
Happy to second.
Thank you. That means that I can approve my digital signature being added to the confirmed Controller Organisations Oversight Committee meeting of 29th of January. There were no actions arising from that meeting, so the action list is 0. We now come on to item 6, the presentations. It involve 6 monthly reports from our 2 PCOs, and I would like to invite Mark Rogers as Chair and Graham Kelly as Chief Executive from West Roads to speak to their presentation.
Thank you. I'll take the report as previously circulated as read, and I'll give commentary to the report. The 6 monthly report is prepared in accordance with the 2024-2025 Statement of Intent and contains the financial statements, activity updates and commentary for the first 6 months. The statements show that as at 31st of December 2024, West Roads' overall operational performance is tracking ahead of budget and last year. Breaking this down, revenue is up on budget by 1.276 million at 16.326 million. Gross profit at 4.5 million is up on budget by 968,000. Net profit before tax is 670,000 compared to budgeted profit of 309,000. Bank debt is 2.4 million compared to 2.9 million last year. Equity has increased by 462,000 to 11,709. While the equity to assets ratio has reduced from 62% to 61% between December 2023 and December 2024. While bottom line profit was 361,000 above budget, there were operational variances in delivering this. Income was well above budget in Hokitika and Christchurch. An increase in construction work volume across the company has led to more efficient operations, enhancing margins and boosting profit. Greymouth Utilities maintenance has taken longer to bed in than budgeted. Margins in the Christchurch market have been tightening and forward work volumes are decreasing due to increasing competition for limited work. Our half-yearly result is pleasing, being well up on last year's budget. We foresee our second half performance being similar, which will deliver a positive full-year result. We extend our gratitude to all West Road staff for their hard work on many challenging projects and all weather conditions. Thanks also to the senior management team for their efforts year to date in progressing and implementing the company's strategy in a challenging market. We look forward to their collective delivery through the remaining 6 months to 30th of June 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Open to the committee for questions on West Road's 6-monthly report.
Thank you, Mark. Just with the Christchurch market being that what are we now? End of March. This is December. So how forward tracking, how do you see that going through this year?
We are actively hunting work at the moment. The amount of work that we completed in February, we replaced slightly, and it's a constant challenge at the moment. But we're hunting, we're pricing, we're anticipating that it will deliver a positive result, but it might be down on what it delivered in the first 6 months.
Are there other questions from the committee? Mark, could you just talk to the admin expenses against budget? The budget was 2,179 and the actual was 2,881, which is and compared to last year of 204. Can you talk to what's driven that increase?
Yes, there's a couple of aspects to that, Steve. I think it's not just an increase, there's also an issue around the budgeting and the timing of the budgeting last year when we were putting them together. There's some allocations of operational costs that for foremen and supervisors that go into the administrative expenses that are reallocated during the year. There's variances in that depending on what type of work we have, productivities and allocations. It's also influenced by the actual amount of work we've had. And so the increase in revenue has led to some of the increases in the administrative expenses. At the time of budgeting, we can't forecast all the requirements that are needed, so there's a natural increase. And we did look at this in quite a bit of detail, so if you would like a little bit more, I could get the Chair of Audit and Risk to give a bit more detail too, who's here.
I think what you're saying is that as revenue has increased, the cost of goods sold has also increased. Is that the short?
Yeah, it is, correct. And the other short part is we've got some work to do around the budgeting.
Yeah.
That's the other part. So.
Okay. So in the full-year results, we will have more insight into what sits in those admin expenses.
100%.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Just also a question, I'm very conscious of commercial sensitivities here, Mark.
Yes.
I think your result for the sector that you're operating in is you've done really well. The fact that you're in the black is something that many companies didn't achieve. So I think the business is going really well. In terms of separating out the earnings from Christchurch versus Greymouth versus Hokitika, If you were to separate those out, would that give you concern with commercial sensitivities?
In the public arena, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because we do have that information, that is all separated out internally. The board review that.
So if that was
We can engage in that in a workshop to provide more clarity to that.
Yeah, would be good.
Without doubt.
Yeah.
No issue there.
yeah,
Like handy, Steve?
Yeah, we can definitely, and then show the benefit of Christchurch. Where Braemouth's tracking benefits in it as well.
so sorry, there was a little bit of loss of sound then. So what you're suggesting is that that could be handled with a if you like, an internal workshop.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay. I think that I would find that very helpful.
I think we'd welcome that too.
Uh,
It would also assist in us tying our performance to our strategy as well.
Right. Thank you, Mark. I don't have any further questions. If the committee is happy then to resolve that we have received the presentation and move and second that, please.
Yes, Secretary.
Thank you.
And I think it's consensus around the table, Stephen, that, Chair, that we have that workshop.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. That brings us then on to the report from Destination Westland and their half-year report. If we're happy to move on. Chris, are you happy to speak to that?
Yeah, vocal okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, as previously, we'll take the report as read, but I'll just touch on a few of the highlights and some of the numbers as well as we go through. Firstly, right off the bat, obviously our principal focus area being around Hokitika Airport. Huge opportunity for us in regard to getting the funding approved for the upgrade for the lighting, a reseal and the extension. I have to put a massive thank you out to the Mayor, who's done a fantastic job of coordinating. Was it herding cats potentially, but coordinating everybody, getting everybody focused, and now we have the funding available to ensure resilience at Hokitika Airport. So that's a fantastic outcome, and there's been a lot of people involved, and I appreciate the support we've had for that. So that's a really good one. On top of that, if we talk about the helipads, geez, I don't know, the gods are shining on us. The weather's been fantastic. We've had more days flying than we've had for a wee while. That's continuing to be the case into this 6 months as well. So January and February are looking good as well. So some really good opportunity for showcasing that as well. So that's good. The other principal activity that has just occurred, obviously in the previous 6 months, is all planning, but we have completed the wild foods. There will be a detailed report produced and provided to council once we've finished all the interviews and all the work that we require to add everything up. But on the face of it, verbatim, the event's been very successful. We believe attendance is much higher than the previous year, shown by pre-sales and also the actual numbers through the gate. So very happy with the outcome of that, and we'll work through the next phase for wild foods. But I think that the festival is in good shape. So that's some of the behavioural highlights that I wanted to touch on. For the numbers, if you look at our total revenue is down year on year. That's simply due to the CCO review and the moving of some of the managed assets back to council. So there's nothing more than that. What really satisfies me is that expenses have year on year, although not quite at budget, have reduced by a similar number. So we have actually managed to right size the costs as well as the revenue based on that CCO change. So that's positive. Yes, we have got a black number there. It's very small. We are black. There is quite a lot of retained income based on some leasing activity and also wild foods income that hasn't been realised. And we're confident that past-wise, we're very confident that by the end of the financial year, we will be on budget in regards to what we've put forward. So pretty happy with the outcome and where we're at. Our biggest risk that we're working through as a business is maintaining our interest cover, which is required. We aren't quite at where we need to be, but we have plans in place to ensure we achieve that by the end of the financial year. Generally, it's a very small team, worked very hard to put forward the Wild Foods Festival and manage the business at the same time. So I'm really happy where we've landed. Massive thank you out to Mel and the team who have worked tirelessly over the last period of time to put on the festival, but also maintain and keep the business in very good shape. Pause there for questions.
Thank you, Chris. Just, sorry.
Yes.
Position, sorry. Sorry, I'll butt out.
No, please go ahead.
A question, Chris. Your chief executive, not present?
Yes, unfortunately she had I should have mentioned at the start, do apologise. She had an emergency activity.
Excuse me. To reshuffle back in? Yeah, just okay, so we'll just wait for them to reconnect in. Well, it was going so well with the audio. Yeah.
Beautiful. Set out.
Hi.
Are we back?
Can you hear us okay? No.
I can hear.
We're unmuted now, so. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I think we're back. Sorry about that. The hotel Wi-Fi dropped out on us. Wasn't very nice, was it?
You sort of conked out after 2 words on Mel's absence.
Ah, right, way back then. Okay.
Wow.
Apologies. So we continued the meeting for about another 5 minutes. So we'll Mel's absence was she contacted me this morning, had an emergency meeting, unfortunately in Greymouth, and wouldn't be back in time for this meeting. So I have no more detail than that, unfortunately. So we'll go now back to, I think, a question. I think we were talking. The question was around splitting out. I think your question was around making sure that we have a better view of not just the total business, but splitting out aviation was the question.
Yes.
And I answered that question by saying, yes, we are happy to. We already report internally on Hokitika Airport, the heliport, and the other business. So if the committee wishes, we could start to break out this information so you have information on aviation and other business. But I've just put that to the committee if that's something they'd like to see.
We've actually missed that part of your meeting that you've just had together, the two of you. Sorry, Steve, I'm not taking over from you, Stephen, I just want clarification. You've asked Chris for a better breakdown of the financial components within Destination Westland, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep, and that's very much supported by council.
Okay, so we'll work towards that, and we can actually provide, if we would like, we could break the 6-month report out and recirculate that to committee if that's required, or we could go forward doing it our own.
I think, look, I think we just go forward on that basis rather than redoing these documents, which have been submitted within the statutory timeframes. So,
okay,
yes.
Sorry, if I can through the chair, I just would like to comment and have it recorded that we have asked for this information for the last 2 years, a breakdown of the financial component, makeup of the financial report. So I'm very pleased to hear that it's actually going to be happening, but it is information we have very clearly asked for previously.
Okay. Look, thank you. I wasn't aware of that, Mayor. And I'm really unclear as to how much of the dialogue that we've been having in this room was not transmitted. I'm not clear where we dropped off. The issue about deferred tax liability, was that?
No, we lost you when Chris was responding about his chief executive's absence. That's when we lost you.
Okay. So after that, then there was a question raised by me in regard to the deferred tax liability on the balance sheet of $2.5 million. And Chris, I think you better talk to that again, please.
No worries. I said I'd take an action to get full detail. My understanding it was to do with the revaluation of the airport. So I will take that action to provide the information back to the committee and specifics.
Okay. Thank you. When I asked to just confirm what were the activities and assets that have been transferred out of Destination Westland, and you could speak to that again.
Yeah, so we were talking about the fact that the pool and the ice site have been the two ones that have moved back to council management, which has affected revenue and positively reduced the costs as well.
Yeah. Okay. So this is all a bit disjointed. Are there any other questions from the committee on the 6-monthly report for Destination Westland?
I have a couple of questions from Councillor Casson. Firstly, land and buildings with the fixed asset schedule, last page of the report. He's asking for a breakdown of the 14 mil land and buildings under assets of Destination Westland. And also what's the $105,000 worth of assets under construction.
The fixed assets obviously predominantly are the airport assets, but would it be best to provide a specific update post this meeting with the actual ones, if that's what he's looking for, so we can actually break it out. That'll be easier rather than me going through all of them. Obviously, the airport is the majority, but I could provide the committee a list of those fixed assets if that's useful.
Yes, it would be.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions from the committee members?
Stephen, Chris, what was the assets under construction?
Down the bottom, 105,000.
Yeah, I'll have to clarify. We don't have a lot under construction. It's probably more likely to be repairs and maintenance stuff that we're doing on the pension and housing, but we aren't actually building anything, so I'm not sure. I'll have to get some information on that one as well. I'm sorry.
So that gets recorded as an action in the minutes?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Further questions from the committee, please? One further one from me, employee entitlements at $74,000. Is that in relation to accumulated annual leave?
Yeah.
What is, given the number of employees in the business, what is the policy around managing annual leave?
We do have a policy where we have to try and obviously take all 4 weeks during the thing, but the main issue we've got with annual leave is small team and the chief executive actually who has not had much leave. So the majority of that is chief executive leave, and it's about being able to provide her the opportunity to take leave, if that makes sense, because it's such a small organisation. So we've put in place quite a strong policy at 2IC, and we've now started to target that leave. We have actually pre-booked 3 weeks from now.
Thank you for that, Chris. I have no further questions. Are there any other further questions from the committee on the Destination Westland 6-monthly update?
No, I'm quite happy, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right. Now, staff reports. This is in regard to the statements of intent that have been received within the statutory timeframe from both of the CCOs.
Okay. Sorry, if I can just interrupt through the chair, we just need to move and second the receipt of that report.
Of which one, the Westland or the 6-monthly update?
Yep, 6-monthly one.
Sorry. So has that been moved and seconded? I couldn't hear.
No, it hasn't. You haven't called for movers and seconders, but I'm happy to move.
Okay, and the seconder?
I'm happy to second.
My apologies. We move on to item 7, which is in regard to statements of intent received from both of the CCOs, which came within the statutory timeframe. The process that has occurred here is somewhat unorthodox in that we have received the statements of intent from both of the CCOs prior to the Westland District Council providing a letter of expectation. And that situation has arisen probably because I arrived into the committee role as chair on the 27th of January. It was not possible for the council to complete a presentations draft ahead of the statutory deadline for submission of the statements of intent. So we have now a situation where we have received the SOIs, and both the chairs of these 2 organisations are happy now to work with us once our letter of expectation is delivered, which I am hopeful we can approve this afternoon at the council meeting. So we have until June the 30th statements of intent to be finalised. And there will be a degree of consultation and collaboration with the 2 CCOs once the council has issued its approval for the letter of expectations, which has been drafted. So in the absence, having explained the current situation I would now like, well, I can see that what I'd like to move on to now is for both of the CCOs to speak to the statements of intent. But looking at the run sheet, we now need to move that the verbal report that I've been provided has been received, moved and seconded. Do we have a mover and a seconder?
Yep, happy to move that.
1 second.
So we now move on to the West Roads draft statement of intent, and I'd like to invite Mark to speak to that, please.
Thank you. As you're aware, in accordance with Section 64 of the Local Government Act 2002, West Roads must submit a draft SOI to Council by the 1st of March each year, which was achieved. As per the attached, this draft SOI is largely consistent with last year, with the principal objectives of the company to operate as a successful business, maximise shareholder value, and provide positive community outcomes remaining the same. The more material changes are in the financial budgets and forecasts. Financially, the board recognises the imperative to provide acceptable returns through both equity and distribution growth, with the forward forecasts in this draft SOI being more aggressive than the SOI approved last year. For this draft SOI, I note that from 2024-2025 to 2027-2028, revenue moves from 31 million to 41.7 million. Net profit before tax moves from 1.3 million to 2 million, with total distribution to shareholders through subventions and dividends moving from 530,000 to 747,000. Closing shareholder funds as a measure of equity still grows from 12.5 million to 13.97 million, while pre-tax and subvention return on average shareholders' funds increases from 11.04% to 15.11%. Regarding the 2025-2026 budget specifically, revenue is set at 35 million. Net profit before tax is 1.593 million. Distributions are at 602,000. Closing shareholders' funds at 12.5 million, and pre-tax and subvention return on average shareholders' funds at 13.33%. We recognise the submission date for the final SOI is the 30th of June, thereby allowing the opportunity for adjustment to this draft SOI through engagement with the CCO Oversight Committee. We look forward to your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Are there questions on the West Road draft statement of intent?
I have questions from Councillor Casson, but I'm just trying to locate their position in the report because the questions aren't actually. Mark, you may be able to pick up on this. Councillor Casson's asking, financial KPIs, are they in line with current or have they been increased, enhanced this time, i.e. points 1, 2 and 4? That's 1, 2 and 4 that I'm just trying to, okay, fine.
They have been enhanced, the targets,
Right.
from the previously approved SOI and compared to last.
Can you please just clarify which points you were referring to?
1, 2 and 4. No, I didn't give them page number, sorry. It's just got points 1, 2 and 4. Which was what I was trying to ascertain before.
On page 10 of the SOI.
Right, it just hasn't got to me.
I think I could summarise it. As I said in the overview, the community performance targets are in line with what we have set this year, and the financial targets are increased from the previous ones that we've been aiming for.
He's also asking, sale and disposal clause. Destination Western has 100k in theirs. There isn't one. It's got stayed in here. Question I'm presuming is expecting to see one in both.
No, we don't actually have a disposal clause specifically. It's about acquisition and purchase of materials.
Right, yeah, really.
Which is under 0.8 capital expenditure. And then refer back to the Companies Act after the Constitution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this from the committee? If not, then I'd like to move that the verbal update be received. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that?
Happy to move that.
Happy to second.
Thank you. The second item, that the committee endorse the letter. No. I think that is a mistake. What we have written here is that the committee endorse the letter of expectation. I think that means a statement of intent for adoption. And we can't do that at this stage. So I am unable to put that resolution to the committee for approval. Are there any, does it need any further discussion?
Is it anything to clarify that? No.
I just may need some help here, please, Helen. The run report on item 7, staff report, it's asking the committee to endorse the letter of expectation to be presented to council for approval. Do you want to discuss that at this point in time with the CCO chairs involved?
No, we need to take that up this afternoon, Chair.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Through the chair, Steve, I think we did have a discussion about this, and because it needs to go through the sequence of approval, it does need to go to the council first for them to endorse the letter of expectation, which then we have an opportunity to go back to the CCOs for the letter of expectation. So we have that.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. So therefore, the resolution that's required is that this committee approves that the draft letter of expectation be presented to council for approval.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we have a mover and a seconder for that, please?
Yep, happy to move.
And a seconder?
I don't think I've actually seen it.
No, you're only second, you're only suggesting the draft goes.
Okay, yep, no, not a problem. Happy to second that.
Thank you. And we have Mark present the draft statement of intent for West Road. We need to resolve that the draft statement of intent be received. We cannot recommend the statement of intent to council for adoption at this stage.
Correct.
Okay. So I move in the sector just for noting that we have received the draft statement of intent, please.
That's Councillor Burden and Mayor Lash. Yep.
Thank you. We move on to the next item, then the draft statement of intent for Destination Westland, and I would like to invite Chris to speak to that, please.
No worries. As always, take it as read. Was delivered on time with their statutory regulations as per required. It is draft. I would make some opening statements that we are open to the letter of intent and we will make adjustments prior to the 30th of June. So we have built this largely on the basis of what we had last year, although we've tidied it up a bit so it looks a little bit nicer. The actual detail is fairly similar. I probably just pause on the strategic direction, which is under the activities of the company. We're in very much a rebuild phase, and we are repositioning around a new strategy. So that's where it's the activities of the company. So we are really trying to look at turning this business into a profit centre rather than probably manage on a social kind of basis. So the strategic direction is around managing core infrastructure, which includes the airport and the heliport as being a primary focus. So that's in there, and any other of our assets that are potential in regards to income earning, look to leverage those. And the final one is around attracting investment. And obviously, with the help of many people, we have attracted some for the airport. We still have some consolidation to do going forward, so we can really truly live that next phase of this business, because we still manage some activities that you could deem as social versus profit, but we'll work through that methodically as we go through. So that's there. From a growth perspective, we've been cautious, but we have built in growth on a year-on-year basis. So we are looking to slowly the business and have a good outcome in regards to a surplus at the end of the year. So as you see, for the 3 years, we're looking at a modest increase in returns over that period. Other than that, I think I'll just pause and see if there's any questions for anybody at the floor, and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Open to the committee for questions.
A question for Chris, just regarding the directorship of the board. How do you see that being managed, being that we've got one director due for rotation, plus we've got your own position? Have you put anything in place or had any discussions with Stephen at this stage?
We had initial discussions with Stephen around my obviously resignation, and Stephen's asked me to stay on and work with him closely up until June, I believe, Steve, at this stage, to look for a suitable replacement for the chair role. We do have a standard rotation of all directors, each, so we don't have them all at once, each year rolling out. So we do have Marla this year. So my view would be to look to have discussions with Marla Louise, given my change, to see if she would be interested in extending and work through that process with her directly. But at this stage, we're very early stage, correct, in regards to what we'll do with my position.
Helen, I need your guidance on the processes that the West End District Council use for the appointment of directors to the boards. I'm assuming that the process will be managed by West End District Council.
Through the chair, yes, we will be doing that, Steve. We've started looking at how that can be done. We just haven't firmed it up to come back to you yet.
Right, thank you. Does that answer the question, Helen?
Yes, thank you, Stephen. Yes, it does. Yep.
Just from my perspective, whilst Chris is in the meeting with us, I am aware of a number of factors around the airport operation in regard to length of time since the aeronautical fees were last negotiated. And I think, Chris, you have advised me that you have done some benchmarking on the fees.
And we are negotiating at present. We've started that process. So we've done some work on that, and I think from my perspective, it is a negotiation. It's not something that we can just sort of out there. But through the period of rebuild of the airport, we are also trying to manage that relationship with New Zealand delicately, making sure that we're working through that. But my understanding is we've started that process.
So for the committee, from my perspective, with the capital expenditure that is now planned for the airport, this creates the opportunity for the CCO, Destination Westlands, to negotiate a new fee. The process would involve a valuation of the current assets plus the value of the capital expenditure that is planned. And I think the information provided to me has shown that Hokitika Airport is the third lowest aeronautical fee across New Zealand's airports. So there should be some opportunity to come up with a better arrangement, a better outcome. And I agree with the chair in terms of what Chris has just said, that it is a consultative process that it does involve a lot of time and work with the airline users. But we do need to, and I think this will have to be included in the statement of intent, that this needs to be captured, that there needs to be an outcome resolved over the next financial year. And Chris has just indicated that he agrees with that. I also think that the statement of intent is going to have to capture how the capital expenditure, the sizable funds, I think it's just around 14 million all up, how that will be, that the whole execution of the project needs to be included in the statement of intent for the next period, the next 1 or 2 years. And that statement of intent will have to provide some detail on the project delivery or the delivery of these works.
I strongly agree with that. I think we have to have a strong governance process, and I think the statement of intent is the right approach in regards to having that structure embedded with some key benchmarks and successful KPIs required to execute on that project. It's very, very important to have the right structure around it.
Thank you, Chris. So that is the main thrust of the changes that I feel are required for Destination Westland. But are there any other comments from the committee, please? Okay. So what we can do is move to resolve that the draft statement of intent has been received. Do we have a mover and a seconder, please?
Happy to move that.
Happy to second.
Thank you. The second item on the run sheet, we cannot recommend that this draft statement of intent be adopted at this stage. Further discussion is required, so we have to put that 2 on the run sheet on hold. Now, next on the sheet is the committee work plan, which has been circulated. Let's see if I can find a copy. Is the committee work plan, has that been put up in the room for presentation? Are there any questions on the work plan?
It's just coming up, Steve. Sorry, we just on screen. And it was on the agenda on the last page, but we'll just put it up on screen so folks have a review. This is the schedule, Steve, that you and I went through in terms of timing and just making sure we could use it as a bit of a track going through. So I know that you folk haven't seen it, but that was the intention, so we could actually track the programs we had. So there's some retro and some forward flow.
Right.
It's on screen now, Steve.
Thank you. Okay. I think there is some further work required at around the November period. So the council meeting is on the 27th of November, is that correct? Yeah. And I just question the timing here that the quarterly reports, the council, the committee, the Oversight Committee is meeting on the 28th, the day after the council meeting. Seems to me it would be more useful for the committee to meet prior to the council meeting so that the committee can report to the meeting.
Makes sense.
I think there's some further work required there, Barbara. If perhaps we can.
We can tweak that, Steve. I think it's just one of those timing bits with the calendar, but we can tweak that. I would be grateful though if folk around the table had any view or saw anything that might be difficult. And Chris, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen, but it's in the agenda. Happy to have those comments come straight back to me and we'll tidy that up and then send it through to Steve if that's useful.
Okay, thanks.
I need to note that the 27th of November, the council meeting date, I am not available for that, unfortunately. So I may have to submit a written report to the council meeting in advance. With those comments in mind, if there's no further discussion on the work plan other than as already noted, I'd like to resolve that the committee work plan be received. Do we have a mover and a seconder?
Yes, happy to move that.
Thank you.
Maybe second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the topics that have been circulated or on any other related matters before we close the meeting? Okay. Is the committee therefore happy for me to close the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. As a post closure note, we are using Chris's laptop to dial in on Zoom. Mine is not connecting at all. I'm going to be leaving this meeting now because his inputs are completed. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be able to dial into the council meeting this afternoon to give a report to the council and to discuss the draft letter of expectation. I may have to do that by phone.
Yeah, no, well, actually, there might be some sort of service where he's meeting us from, all of us from this afternoon. We'll see what we can connect up for you, Stephen.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what the problem is here at the note, and I haven't been able to. I think what I might try and do with Penny is have a trial run on Zoom and see if I can sort something out. It's not looking very straightforward at all, I'm afraid.
No, we'll be in touch and get something sorted for you.
Thank you. Okay.
Probably just, can I say something through the chairs? Just Chrissy, I just wanted to, I have put forward my resignation, as you're aware. It was a very difficult decision. It was forced upon me by my new board, as I've been appointed as Chief Executive of the firm. But I did want to thank everybody for your support over a number of years.